They told him to never remove the mask, but curiosity changed everything. The price of forbidden knowledge. Darius Vale adjusted his midnight blue formal attire as the quantum elevator descended toward the lower levels of Nexus Station. At 32, he had spent 7 years as the most requested human cultural liaison at the Prism Enclave, the station's most exclusive establishment catering to alien dignitaries seeking to understand humanity through intimate cultural exchange. "Your 21 appointment has arrived early," announced Director Thalia Voss through his neural implant. "Sweet obsidian has been prepared according to their specifications." Specifications? Darius raised an eyebrow. Most clients provided basic environmental needs, atmospheric composition, temperature preferences, lighting requirements, but rarely requested specific arrangements. "Quite detailed ones," Thalia replied, her tone betraying unusual curiosity. The client requested complete darkness upon entry, holographic star configurations matching the Vale Nebula, and most peculiarly, that you not look directly at them until given permission. Interesting. Darius had encountered numerous cultural taboos in his profession. The Hurlani, with their photosensitive skin, required dim blue lighting. The Trisarian diplomats communicated through pheromones and touch rather than words. But complete darkness and restricted eye contact? That suggested something extraordinary. "Who are they?" he asked, stepping off the elevator into the private reception lounge. They registered only as Lyra Tavash. No species designation, no political affiliation. "That's against protocol," Darius noted, surprise evident in his voice. "They paid triple the standard diplomatic rate," Thalia responded, with a hint of amusement. "In untraced quantum credits, I made an exception." "Of course you did," Darius chuckled. Thalia didn't become director of the most exclusive establishment in known space by turning away wealthy clients with unusual requests. Sweet Obsidian lived up to its name. Obsidian walls with veins of luminescent silver creating a starfield effect. As instructed, the room was pitch black when Darius entered, the only illumination coming from the holographic Vale Nebula swirling across the ceiling. "Please remain by the entrance with your eyes lowered," came a melodic voice from the darkness. The language was standard Galactic, but with an accent Darius couldn't place, like liquid crystal flowing over wind chimes. "As you wish," he replied, bowing his head. "I'm Darius Vale. Welcome to the Prism Enclave." "I know who you are." The voice moved closer, and Darius detected a subtle fragrance reminiscent of night-blooming flowers and ozone after lightning. "Your reputation extends beyond this station. The human who understands alien cultures better than most xenoanthropologists." Darius smiled but kept his gaze down. "I find genuine curiosity serves better than academic study." Curiosity, the voice, Lyra, tested. The word, a quintessentially human trait, both your greatest strength and most dangerous flaw. A whisper of movement, and suddenly Darius sensed her standing directly before him. Still, he kept his promise, eyes fixed on the floor. "You may look at me now," she said, "but understand that what you see is not my true form." Darius slowly raised his eyes. Before him stood a humanoid figure draped in gossamer veils that shifted color like auroras, deep violets, teals, and indigos. Where a face should be, a swirling mask of iridescent particles created a constantly moving pattern, revealing nothing of the features beneath. "I am Lyra Tavash of the Celestial Concordat," she announced, her voice carrying unexpected weight for such a seemingly delicate form. Darius barely controlled his surprise. The Celestial Concordat, a species so reclusive that in the 60 years since first contact, fewer than 20 humans had ever met one. They controlled technologies beyond human understanding and navigated political waters with mysterious precision. Their homeworld remained unknown, their true appearance a closely guarded secret. "I'm honored," he replied, genuinely awed. "The Concordat rarely engages with humans directly." "Yet here I am," Lyra said, amusement coloring her tone, "seeking to understand humanity through their most skilled cultural interpreter." That first night passed in conversation more intellectually intimate than physically close. Lyra questioned him about human art, philosophy, emotions, concepts like love, jealousy, grief. She seemed particularly fascinated by humanity's capacity for hope in the face of impossible odds. "Your species burns so brightly," she observed as artificial dawn began to illuminate the room. "So briefly, yet with such intensity. Is that why you've come?" Darius asked. "To study our intensity?" The swirling mask tilted. "Perhaps I wish to experience it." She moved toward the door. "I shall return tomorrow night. Same conditions." She visited for 5 consecutive nights. Each evening, the conversations grew deeper, the distance between them shorter. By the 3rd night, Darius found himself entranced not just by the mystery she presented, but by her keen intelligence and unexpected vulnerability. On the 4th night, she allowed him to touch her hand, a significant concession, she explained, as Concordat rarely permitted physical contact with other species. The sensation sent an electric current through him, her skin beneath the veil feeling like living silk embedded with static electricity. "Your touch," she whispered. "It resonates with my true form in ways I hadn't anticipated." Director Thalia noticed the change in Darius. "You're distracted," she observed on the 5th day. 7 years without a single lapse in professional detachment, and suddenly you're checking chronometers between appointments. "She's different," Darius admitted. Thalia's expression darkened. "The Concordat aren't just another alien species, Darius. They exist outside normal diplomatic channels. Their technology, their influence, they could destroy this station with a thought if they wanted. Whatever game you're playing with this, Lyra, tread carefully." But caution had already begun to erode in the face of fascination. On the 5th night, Lyra revealed more than she had intended. "My position within the Concordat is complicated," she explained as they sat side by side, watching holographic constellations. "I am being prepared for a role I did not choose." "What role?" Darius asked softly. "One that will separate me forever from experiences like this." Her voice carried genuine regret. "After the Ascension ceremony, I will never again interact with non-Concordat species." "When is the ceremony?" 3 station cycles from now." Her veiled hand found his. "These nights with you are my last taste of freedom." The confession hung between them, heavy with implication. Darius felt a strange tightness in his chest, the beginning of an attachment he had never permitted himself in his professional life. On the final night, something changed. Lyra arrived agitated, her veils rippling with emotion. "Tonight will be our last meeting," she announced. "The elders have sensed my deviation. They're sending an escort to return me to the Concordat vessel." "I don't understand," Darius said, stepping closer. "What deviation?" "This." She gestured between them. "My interest in you has grown beyond scholarly observation. It threatens our most sacred tradition, that we never reveal our true nature to outsiders." "You've revealed nothing," Darius reminded her. "Not physically, no." Her mask swirled faster. "But emotionally, I've revealed far too much." She moved closer, the particles of her mask shifting erratically. "I want you to see me, Darius, just once before I'm forever beyond your reach. The consequences will be significant," she acknowledged, "but I cannot bear the thought of becoming what they expect without having been truly seen by someone who mattered." The request hung between them, dangerous, forbidden, irresistible. "If you remove your veil," Darius whispered, "what happens next?" "Everything changes," she replied simply. "For both of us." The rational part of Darius screamed warnings. 7 years of perfect professional judgment told him to step back, to maintain the boundaries that had made him the best at what he did. But as Lyra's hands rose to her mask, curiosity, that quintessentially human trait, overwhelmed caution. "Show me," he said. The swirling particles parted like a curtain, revealing what lay beneath. Darius gasped as bioluminescent patterns of indescribable beauty illuminated the darkness, revealing a face both alien and breathtakingly beautiful. Her true eyes, multifaceted crystals shifting between sapphire and violet, locked with his. "Now you see me," she whispered. The room's lighting system suddenly flared red. Alarm klaxons blared throughout the station. "They've detected the breach," Lyra said, her true voice now resonating directly into his mind. "The Concordat enforcers are coming." "For you?" Her luminous smile was sad. "For us both, Darius Vale. I told you. Everything changes now." As the door to sweet obsidian disintegrated into atoms, revealing towering figures encased in living metal, Darius realized the true price of forbidden knowledge. His life at the Prism Enclave was over, and something entirely unexpected was about to begin. Convergence of Worlds, the Concordat vessel defied human understanding of spacecraft design. From the outside, witnesses on Nexus Station described it as a tear in reality, a vertical slice of darkness rimmed with pulsing light. Inside, where Darius now found himself, it resembled a living cathedral grown from crystalline organisms that responded to thought. He sat in what he assumed was a containment chamber, though without visible barriers. The floor beneath him hummed with energy, and the walls shifted subtly as if breathing. 6 hours had passed since the enforcers had transported him and Lyra from the Prism Enclave. 6 hours of isolation, with only his thoughts and the haunting memory of her revealed face, patterns of light and impossible geometry that his human mind struggled to comprehend. The chamber wall dissolved, revealing one of the enforcers. Up close, their armor appeared less metallic and more organic, a symbiotic second skin that amplified their already imposing presence. "The Council demands your presence," the enforcer stated, voice resonating directly in Darius's mind rather than through air. "Stand and follow." The corridors twisted in ways that made Darius's inner ear protest. Gravity shifted subtly with each turn, and distant sounds like crystalline wind chimes played underwater echoed from unseen chambers. They entered a vast rotunda where 7 elder Concordat members hovered on platforms of condensed light. Their forms were only partially veiled, their luminous patterns more elaborate and intense than Lyra's, suggesting great age and status. At the center, on a dais of swirling energy, stood Lyra herself, unveiled, radiant, and very clearly in trouble. "Darius Vale of Earth," announced the central elder, their pattern language translating to words in his mind. "You stand accused of corrupting High Sovereign Designate Lyra Tavash, heir to the Concordat overseeing intelligence. High Sovereign Designate." Darius struggled to maintain composure, not just any Concordat member, but their future leader. "Elder Jarian," Lyra interjected, her luminous patterns flaring with emotion. "Darius did not corrupt me. I chose to reveal myself." "Which is precisely the problem," replied another elder. "This one's patterns darker, more angular. For 10 millennia, our species has maintained absolute separation between our true essence and other sentient beings. This boundary has protected our evolutionary path and preserved our capacity to serve as galactic overseers." Darius stepped forward, earning a warning pulse from his enforcer escort. "With respect, I don't understand the severity of this situation. Yes, Lyra showed me her true form, but the form is merely symbolic," interrupted Elder Jarian. "What you witnessed was a quantum entanglement at the consciousness level. Your mind is now irrevocably linked with hers, a connection forbidden to any Concordat member, especially the High Sovereign Designate." Darius glanced at Lyra, who nodded slightly. "We are connected?" "At a fundamental level," Lyra confirmed. "My consciousness reached for yours when I revealed myself, and yours, remarkably, reached back. Something unprecedented." The implications staggered him. No wonder the enforcers had acted so decisively. This wasn't merely about broken taboos, it was about an unprecedented biological connection between species. "The connection must be severed," declared the angular-patterned elder. "The human's mind must be purged." "No." Lyra's outburst sent ripples of energy across the chamber. "Elder Nevius, the purging process would destroy him. I won't allow it." You no longer have authority to allow anything, Nevius replied coldly. Your judgment is compromised by this connection. If I may, Darius ventured, surprising himself. With his own boldness, what exactly is the danger here? Why has this connection between species been forbidden for so long? A ripple of communication, like lightning between clouds, passed among the elders. Finally, Geryon responded. The celestial concordate evolved beyond physical form 20,000 years ago. We exist primarily as consciousness, using these light forms for interaction with the physical realm. Our overriding purpose is to guide younger species toward harmonious coexistence without interference, like cosmic gardeners, Darius observed. A crude but not inaccurate analogy, Geryon conceded. The prohibition against consciousness mingling protects both parties. For us, it prevents the dissolution of our higher functions through emotional attachment. For other species, it prevents the mental collapse that typically occurs when confronted with the full scope of concordate awareness. Darius frowned. But I haven't experienced any mental collapse. This caused another ripple among the elders, more intense than before. No, admitted Geryon reluctantly. You have not. Which is unprecedented. Lyra moved closer to Darius, her light patterns reaching toward him like tendrils. This is what I've been trying to explain, elders. Humanity is different. Their consciousness exists in a state of perpetual adaptation. Darius's mind didn't break. It expanded to accommodate our connection. Speculation, dismissed Nevius. One anomalous human proves nothing. Then test others, Lyra challenged. The concordate has remained isolated for millennia based on assumptions, never questioned. What if humanity represents the evolutionary partner we've been waiting for? The suggestion caused chaos in the chamber, patterns flaring and clashing in what Darius assumed was heated debate. Impossible. Nevius's patterns turned jagged with outrage. Humans are barely spacefaring. Their societies remain fractured, their technologies primitive. Yet their consciousness adapts, Lyra countered. While we have stagnated in our isolation, growing increasingly detached from the universe we claim to oversee, Darius suddenly understood what Lyra was risking. This wasn't just about their connection. She was challenging the fundamental philosophy of her entire species. The ascension ceremony, he said quietly. That's why you're fighting this, isn't it? What happens during that ceremony, Lyra? Her light patterns dimmed slightly. The High Sovereign Designate must surrender all individual identity to merge with the collective overseeing intelligence, the combined consciousness of all previous sovereigns. I would cease to exist as Lyra and become merely a component of the eternal concordate mind. And with our connection, Darius began. I can never fully merge, she finished. Part of me will always remain tethered to you. The implications hung in the chamber like a physical weight. Lyra hadn't just broken a cultural taboo, she had potentially compromised the entire leadership succession of her species. Elder Geryon's patterns shifted thoughtfully. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our judgment. The elder floated closer, examining Darius with newfound interest. For a human mind to withstand concordate connection suggests possibilities we have not considered. The ancient texts, offered another elder, her patterns flowing like water, speak of the convergence, a time when the concordate would find another species capable of shared consciousness. We dismissed it as allegory, because no species has ever demonstrated compatibility, Nevius countered, though his rigid patterns had softened slightly. Until now, Lyra said firmly. I've studied human history extensively. Their greatest strength is their diversity of thought, their ability to hold contradictory ideas simultaneously without cognitive dissonance. They argue, they create, they destroy, but always they adapt and grow stronger. She moved to stand beside Darius, her light form brushing against him with tangible warmth. The concordate has grown stagnant in our isolation. We need humanity's fire as much as they need our wisdom. Darius felt a strange sensation, Lyra's consciousness touching his, inviting rather than imposing. He opened his thoughts to her, and in that moment of shared awareness, understood what she proposed. "You're suggesting an alliance," he said, addressing the elders directly. "Not just diplomatic, but evolutionary." "Dangerous," warned Nevius. "Necessary," countered Lyra. "The galaxy faces threats beyond either of our species' capacity to address alone. The void incursions grow stronger with each passing cycle." This revelation clearly surprised the other elders. Jarian's patterns flared with alarm. "You've seen this?" the elder demanded. "Through the Overseer Archive, yes. The coming darkness will consume all unless consciousness itself evolves to counter it. Neither humanity's adaptability nor our transcendent awareness alone will suffice." A heavy silence filled the chamber. Finally, Elder Jarian's patterns shifted into what Darius somehow recognized as resolution. "The human must be tested properly," Jarian announced. "If his mind truly can sustain the connection without degradation, the Council will consider the implications for our future relations with humanity." "And Lyra?" Darius asked. "The ascension ceremony will be postponed," Jarian conceded, causing gasps among the other elders, "until we determine whether this connection represents aberration or evolution." Nevius's patterns darkened. "This defies 10,000 years of tradition." "Tradition exists to serve evolution, not constrain it," Lyra replied firmly. "If humanity represents the convergence our ancestors foretold, then we must adapt, or risk extinction for all sentient life." The debate continued for hours, but Darius sensed the tide turning. Through his newfound connection with Lyra, he felt her triumph, her vindication, and beneath it all, a personal joy that resonated with his own emotions. 3 days later, as the Concordat vessel prepared to depart Nexus Station, Darius stood in a newly configured chamber with Lyra. For the first time, they were truly alone, without elders or enforcers monitoring their interaction. "The Council has granted preliminary approval for a pilot program," she explained, her patterns swirling with excitement. 50 human volunteers will be evaluated for consciousness compatibility. You will oversee the human side of the initiative." "As what?" Darius asked with a wry smile. "I doubt cultural liaison covers this situation." "As ambassador plenipotentiary to the Celestial Concordat," she replied, her patterns forming what he now recognized as her equivalent of a smile, the first in human history. "And us?" he ventured, feeling their consciousness link pulse between them. "What happens with this connection?" Her light form intensified, reaching toward him with tendrils of luminous beauty. "That depends on the success of our experiment. If we prove that humans and Concordat can merge awareness without losing identity, then everything changes," he finished, echoing her words from that fateful night at the Prism Enclave. "For both our species," she agreed. "The ancient texts speak of the convergence as not merely an alliance but a transformation, separate yet united, distinct yet whole." As their consciousnesses touched again, deeper than before, Darius understood that he stood at the threshold of something far greater than personal connection. What had begun as a forbidden glimpse behind a veil might ultimately redefine the relationship between two species, perhaps even the future of consciousness itself. "Worth the price of forbidden knowledge," he murmured. Lyra's patterns formed the concordant expression of absolute agreement. "Only the beginning, Darius Vale. Only the beginning." On Nexus Station, Director Thalia Voss received the official communication from both Earth diplomatic corps and the heretofore unknown Concordat Embassy. The Prism Enclave was to be reconfigured as the site of first official cultural exchanges between humans and the mysterious species. Her former employee, now bearing the imposing title of Ambassador Plenipotentiary, had specific requirements for the renovation. Chief among them, no veils, no masks, and absolutely no barriers between species seeking understanding.